What's up, everybody? Bonus YouTube video, reaction to Jets Patriots, answering some questions that are flying through on the Discord. I have a full reaction up on the Patreon, which is patreon.com/badlands TOJ. We have daily content every single day there. We answer Discord questions all the time there. We also talk all day in our Discord. So I just want to do a few more minutes YouTube specific now that it's the off season, and this is when we crank the most content. So I'm going to dig in here. First one that came through from Adrian. First move you would make if you were GM, assuming it's the only guarantee you get. The first thing I would do is I would call the Raiders and gauge what the real price is on Davante Adams and see where that weighs in what the Jets are willing to pay. And if you could get him at something that you could stomach, can you get away without having to give up a first-round pick? How much of his money are you eating? There's not a big splash to make in the veteran offensive line market, really. You got to be smart and savvy on how you fill it there and really wait until the draft. So my early moves pre-draft are around improving wide receiver and backup quarterback, candidly. So I would first call there and see if that's my real plan A. And if it's not, I would immediately be putting together a very aggressive plan B, whether it's for T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley, someone who we can get excited about, who is a real 1B, Garrett Wilson. That's where my head goes first. I would also gauge the price tag for Jacoby Brissett to be my number 2. I would offer him a 2-year contract to be the highest paid backup in the NFL. I think this is a great situation for a backup quarterback because there is a reasonable chance you're going to play on a roster that's going to be built to be all in. Next question from Steve Ferrari. Who is the player that we feasibly could acquire that would get you the most bought back in? I mean, look, we're all going to get bought back in the offseason. This is going to be a pre-2015 type offseason. They're going to acquire a couple of exciting names, someone likely in the receiver market. Everyone will talk themselves into being excited about whoever the pick is at 9, 10, or 11. For me, if they could really go into the draft with the other starting receiver spot filled in a strongly legitimate way and made another veteran addition to the offensive line that's not Bakhtiari, I'll feel pretty good overall. And if they could pleasantly surprise me by finding a way to keep Bryce off, which I don't think they will do. So it's like, hey, we're going into the draft. We have Michael Pittman as the other receiver already. We were able to get, Onwenu from the Patriots, or able to surprise and pry another veteran free, or maybe even get a guy like Jonah Williams who has some starting experience. And now we're positioned to get the offensive lineman we really want, at 9. I think those kind of moves, you'd feel good about not going into the draft where like, oh, wow, they haven't even addressed receiver or offensive line in a serious way yet. How are they going to fill both these holes? All right, keep scrolling here. And I should caveat with Davante, like, I don't want to overpay for him, but like he is still great. And it would be very hard not to be exceptionally excited about having Davante Adams play with Garrett Wilson. I'd say it's like 50-50 whether it happens or not. But when it happens, man, like it would be very exciting if it happened. From Will McMuffin, what level of confidence do you have in Joe Douglas making the correct decision in the draft? I mean, it's not exceptionally high. He hasn't been great overall. The record speaks for that. However, he has shown an ability to get it right with high picks, with top 10 picks in particular, at which the Jets, this will be right on the border of a top 10 pick. I like Fuaga as the third tackle in the draft. That's going to be a common thing you hear from Badlands. If he's gone, I'm kind of intrigued by Bowers, especially if they addressed receiver elsewhere. He's got a lot to prove, Douglas, not just there, but in filling out the depth of the roster. And how does he find a Nico Collins on day 3? How does he find a Kieran Williams on day 3? How does he do what some of these other teams do to find offensive talent? That's the real challenge for him, along with the second and third tier of free agency in the veteran market to round out this roster. All key things for Joe Douglas. Keep scrolling here. From the ghost of Manish, odds that the Jets are looking for a new head coach and GM a year from now. I mean, they're relatively high if we're trying to speak objectively. Relatively high. I think it's probably about a coin flip, right? It's going to depend on, if you ask me today, and this is with no information because we have no idea what's going to happen this offseason, with Rodgers back and a couple other things breaking the Jets' way, like the Jets probably could win 9 or 10 games. Now, is that enough to make the wild card? Are we satisfied if they barely get in as the 7th seed and lose wild card weekend? Like, don't know if I would be, but this ownership group might be. If they miss the playoffs, I do think they will definitely clean house. And there's certainly a world where that happens. So I think it's like 50-50. I think a scenario I kind of worry about is like they go 9-8, they get in as the 7th seed, they lose by double digits wild card weekend, but ownership gives these guys huge extensions, and then they start out the next year like 3-9, and then it's like you just have to clean out and start all over, and you wasted all that time. That's my biggest fear, but I hope certainly that doesn't happen, because we don't want this this misery to carry on longer. All right, let me go over to Q&A here. Ooh, from MG. For YouTube quick, any early ideas for a long-form podcast series this offseason? This is a great question and something we're spending a lot of time thinking about now. We're probably going to go back to doing a couple of versions of what we did a few years ago, where we do sort of like a 4-parter on the draft class and really like dive deeper exactly into who they got. We'll probably do sort of a mini version of what we did for the initial Badlands docuseries, which was like 10 episodes on why they missed the playoffs for like 10 years. We might do 3 episodes on why they missed the playoffs for the last 3 years too, and are now going into year 14 with a similar sort of long form format. We're also going to have the rewatchables, and we're also trying to plan out some version of a live show, and that will be a half rewatchable, half roundtable discussion on the kind of the history being made here with this playoff drought, not just in the NFL, but also in American sports. Like, it is like unique how bad this is, and you got to dissect it a little bit. So we'll have that with all sort of our normal like film room analysis and a couple other different takes on things that happened this season, along with much more detailed dissections of Douglas's and Salah's resumes. Let's see if I could squeeze in one more. Huff question from M. Cava. What's a reasonable offer to Huff after what we've seen from him? I mean, it's very tough because 10 sacks on 40% of the snaps. How are teams going to evaluate his ability to play 60 or 70% of the snaps? It's going to be a lot, right? Edge rushers are a premium position. Most teams are going to think they can unlock even more from him. I hope if the Jets can't come to money with him, agreement on money with him, they franchise him, and then you can kind of move from there in terms of, do you trade him and get something back? You can't let him walk for nothing. I would look, and we're going to have a bigger conversation with this about Jason on contract structure. And he threw out some numbers that I think were pretty reasonable, spread over 3 years. It's going to look like whatever the top edge rusher got paid last year, like plus 5 to 8% is roughly what it's probably going to look like. The market always ticks up a little bit like that. And it's rare that these dudes hit the market. Usually premium, like free, like edge rushers don't get out there. Like last time the Jets were really hunting for this, it was like the Lawson Hendrickson market, and they ultimately picked wrong. And Judon, that was kind of the big 3, and they picked the wrong guy of the 3 ultimately. He just couldn't stay healthy. So I would look towards that, and fingers crossed again that they would franchise him if they don't sign him, and it doesn't seem like they'll sign him. He'll want to test the market. All right, thank you everybody for listening. As a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, patreon.com/BadlandsTOJ. We have new episodes every single day. They're usually 30, 40, 50 minutes. They're longer than these quick hits. You just get little snippets here or there. Video, audio, articles. It's busy. We got like 6 or 7 different hosts coming through. We got some gear. We got some all that good stuff. It's the Jets off season. We'll be busy. Thank you for watching.